So we're hearing it everywhere, right? Generative AI is changing the world. But can it actually help with something as personal as our mental health? I mean, beyond all the hype. What does the science actually say about an AI's ability to act as a therapist? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Let's dive into the evidence. And to really get why this is so important, we have to start with this number, 169 million. That's a staggering figure. It's how many people, right here in the United States, live in an area where there just aren't enough mental health professionals. We're talking about a massive gap between the need for care and the care that's actually available. And that's exactly why researchers are so interested in finding new solutions. And that, of course, brings us to the big question. Could AI really be the therapist of the future? I mean, is this a powerful new tool we can rely on, or is it more of a risky experiment? In this explainer, we're going to walk through the very latest scientific review to see what it says. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the crisis that's fueling this new hope in AI. Then, we'll see how scientists are putting these systems to the test. After that, we'll get into the good stuff, AI's clinical report card. We'll check out its blind spots, and then wrap up with a final grade and a look at what's next. Right, so like we just said, the mental health burden is growing way faster than our ability to handle it. This widening gap has created this urgent need for tools that are actually accessible. And with models like ChatGPT popping up everywhere, it's no surprise that a lot of people are turning to generative AI for support. It's being positioned as this potential new hope for mental health care. But here's the thing. Hope isn't enough, right? To separate what's real from what's just hype, we need some serious, rigorous science. So how do you actually test an AI's therapeutic skills? Well, that's where our source material, a major systematic review, comes into play. Now, this is really important because it shows you just how they got to their conclusions. This isn't just one person's opinion. Researchers started with over 1,000 published studies, and from there, they systematically filtered them all down to just the 8 highest quality, most reliable pieces of evidence. So what we're about to see, it's basically a summary of the very best research we have on this today. And all that amazing research lets us create something like a report card for AI. So let's grade its performance on some of the most critical skills a therapist needs to have, starting with the basics. Okay, first up on the report card, the subject of psychoeducation. Now, this is all about giving people accurate, helpful information. Can the AI actually teach users about their mental health? Can it explain concepts and answer questions clearly? Let's see. And right away, the grade is kind of mixed. On the good side, human experts, we're talking board-certified clinicians, they rated the AI's responses as comprehensive and empathetic. One study even found it helped 80% of users manage their symptoms. But, and this is a big but, in that same study, that same 80% of users also said they had concerns about the accuracy and reliability of the info. Think about that. So the key takeaway here is even when it was helping, people didn't fully trust it. Okay, let's move on to a much higher stakes subject, diagnosis and assessment. Can an AI correctly identify a mental health condition? This is a core clinical skill, and the implications here are pretty serious. And this is where things get really, really complicated. So Google's BARD model was actually pretty good at spotting Alzheimer's. The problem? It was overconfident. It frequently misdiagnosed healthy patients, which is a huge deal. On the flip side, GPT-4 had the opposite problem. It was way too cautious and would often just avoid making a clear diagnosis altogether. So yeah, they both performed better than just random chance, but neither was anywhere near reliable enough for such a critical task. All right, now for what is arguably the most human part of therapy, emotional awareness and empathy. Can a machine, a bunch of code, actually understand and respond to human emotion in a way that feels meaningful? And what they found here is just fascinating. It's a total paradox. In standardized lab tests, using these emotionally charged scenarios, ChatGPT 3.5 actually scored higher than a human population on emotional awareness. Wild, right? But, and here's the catch, even though it could ace the test, real users reported something was missing. They felt a lack of that genuine human touch, that emotional engagement. So it could identify an emotion on paper, but it couldn't deliver a real human connection. So the grades are pretty mixed, as you can see. But like any report card, the real insights are often in the teacher's comments in the margins. The review identified some major limitations. Let's call them the system's blind spots that really tell us why AI is struggling. So what did the researchers find? Well, four big things. First off, the tests they were running on the AI were just too simple, mostly just asking a single question without any real back and forth. Second, these evaluations weren't happening in the real world, in actual clinics with actual patients. Then there's this huge one. The models showed some pretty serious cultural and linguistic biases. And to top it all off, users consistently brought up major concerns about trust and data privacy. And they did not mince words on this point, as you can see from this quote. The big worry is that since these AI are trained mostly on data from Western, English-speaking cultures, they might just completely miss the mark for everybody else. I mean, think about it. The way depression is expressed and understood can be wildly different from one culture to the next. The review makes it super clear this isn't some minor glitch. It's a fundamental roadblock if the goal is to help everyone. So, what's the final grade? Honestly, it's got to be an incomplete. The potential is obviously there. You can see it. But there are some really serious issues that have to be addressed. The good news is, the researchers didn't just point out the problems. They also laid out a clear path for what needs to happen next. They basically laid out 4 key steps. Number 1, use smarter, more complex testing methods, not just simple prompts. 2, you got to involve diverse user groups to tackle that cultural bias problem head on. 3, we need to establish clear benchmarks by directly comparing AI to human clinicians on the exact same tasks. And finally, number 4, create a unified, standard framework so the whole field can evaluate these tools rigorously and, just as importantly, consistently. So when you step back and look at all the best evidence we have, it's pretty clear. The AI has these flashes of brilliance, but it also has some serious fundamental flaws. And that leaves us with a final, really crucial thought. This technology, it's already here. It's not coming, it's here. So the question isn't if AI will be a part of our mental health care anymore. The real question is how. How are we going to guide its development to make sure that it actually helps and doesn't end up causing harm?